Hello everybody, Sorleon here and welcome back to another mathematics video. In this video, we'll be exploring sales tax and purchase tax. And at the end of this video, you should be able to calculate these two very things. You should be able to calculate sales tax and then get the total cost that you will pay for an item, and then purchase tax and then the total cost that you will pay for an item after purchase tax is applied. So let's head into some definitions of what exactly do we mean by tax. So tax, the big tax. So sales tax and purchase tax are additional charges added to the price of goods and services. So these taxes are calculated as a percentage of the price and may vary on the type of product and the region or country. So we know in Guyana we have VAT, which is value added tax, and that is 16% on certain goods and services. You have to pay a VAT of 16%. So in different countries, you will have different percentages for the tax. So what tax basically is if an item costs $100, that is the original cost of the item. And then you will see you have to pay a certain percentage tax on the item. So that would be that $100 plus, after you find the percentage of whatever, then that would be the final cost. So that is what tax is, an additional money that you pay. So let's head into our first example of calculating sales tax. So this one says a customer buys a shirt for $50 and sales tax is 8%. So calculate the sales tax and the total cost, which would be the total cost for the shirt. So first thing, we see the shirt is $50 and we see the rate, the tax is $8 and we see the sales tax is 8%. So the first thing we need to find is 8% of $50, and that will be the sales tax. So we know 8% of 50 would simply be, we know percentage is out of 100. So the sales tax would be 8%, which is 8 over 100 multiplied by 50. So we know this 0 cancels with that 0. 5 ones 5. 5 into 10 would be 2. So 8 divided by 2 would be 4. So we see the sales tax would be $4. So an additional $4 must be paid on the shirt for $50. The total cost would be the $50 plus the $4. So 50 plus 4 would be $54, and that would be the total cost for the shirt after we add on the 8% tax on it. So tax, as we can see, is something that is added on, and this tax would typically go to the government. So the next thing we want to find would be the purchase tax. So purchase tax and sales tax, they're both very similar. So this one says, a business buys raw materials worth $500 and the purchase tax rate is 6%. So calculate the purchase tax and the total cost of the raw materials. So we see the raw materials will be worth $500 and it's taxed at 6%. So to find the purchase tax, which is, we do the same thing as what we do with sales tax. So the purchase tax would be equal to 6%, so it's 6 over 100 multiplied by 500. So we know this 0 cancels with that 0, this 0 cancels with that 0, and 6 times 5 would give us $30. So the total cost would simply be the cost that we first saw, which is $500, plus the purchase tax, which would be $30. So 500 plus 30 would give us $530. And that would be the total cost after the purchase tax is added on. And that is as easy as that, as simple as that. So let's proceed to another type of example. So this one says, a commercial building is valued at $25,000. Property tax is charged at a rate of $0.80 per $100, or we can say 80 cents per 100. So what is the total amount of tax paid for the property. So we see for every $100, we see we are charged, well, the commercial building is charged a tax of 80 cents or $0.80. So you want to find what is the total amount of tax paid for the property. So we see the property is valued at $25,000. So all we need to find how many $100 would we get in that $25,000. So how do we find that? By dividing the $25,000 by the 100. So 25,000 divided by 100 will give us the amount of hundreds that we can get from the 25,000. So this zero cancels with that zero, this zero cancels with that zero, so we have 250. So to find the amount of tax that is paid, we take this 250 and we multiply it by the 0.80, because we have 250 hundreds in 25,000. And we know we are charged A0, and we know we are charged $0.80 per 100. So to find the total amount of tax paid, it would be 250 multiplied by 0.80. So this will now give us $200. So we see the total amount of tax paid for this property, which is worth $25,000, is $200. And that is the end of that question. So we see we needed to find the amount of hundreds in the 2,500, and we take that answer, we multiply it by how much we charge per 100. Let's look at the last question. The last question says the cost of a book. Last question says the cost of a book exclusive of sales tax is $85. John bought the book and had to pay sales tax of $12. If he paid with $100, how much change would he receive? So we see $85 is the cost of the book before tax is paid. So exclusive of tax means tax is not added as yet. So what we need to do, we need to find how much would be the cost of the book after we add on this 12% tax. So we see the sales tax for the book would be 12%, which is 12 over 100, multiplied by the cost of the book, which is $85. So we will use our calculator. We will say 12 times 85 will give us 1,020. And you divide that answer by 100, which will give us $10.2, which is the same as $10.20. So this is the sales tax paid for the book. So the cost of the book so the total cost of the book would be $85 plus $10.20, or $10.2, which is the same as $10.20. So I'll say 10.2. So we add up this, we'll have a value of 85 plus 10.2 will give us 95.2, or we say $95.20. Same thing. So how much change would he receive if he paid with $100? So the change received would be $100 subtract the $95.20, which will give us $4.80, or $4.8 or $4.80. And that is how we work out this question. So the answer for this would be $4.80. After he paid it $100, that is the change that he would receive. And with that, it has brought us to the end of this video. So we looked at calculating sales tax and purchase tax. So we saw that sales tax and purchase tax, these are additional money added on after you pay for a certain item or goods or services. Yeah, and to find the total cost of the item, we add on the mark price plus the sales tax, and that will give us the total cost of the item. So once again, we saw that these questions is just a little bit of application. Just read the questions carefully, and remember, tax is something that is added on. All right? Persons tend to mix up tax. They find the percentage and then they subtract. Remember, tax is extra, so don't ever subtract. You always add on to find the amount of tax that you will have to pay, or to find the total amount of money that you'll have to pay after tax is added on. That's why it's called VAT, value added tax. So I'll see you in the next video. Take care.